Everybody loves dads, stories, and the Marine Corps. What could be better than Marine Corps dads who tell stories? Here's another story with veteran storyteller John Sugar Jr., a Marine Corps dad.
Tonight, we're going to tell the story of the drill instructor that learned to cry. Once upon a time, there was a drill instructor, and this drill instructor's name was Drill Instructor Sergeant Bahonkus. Now, Drill Instructor Sergeant Bahonkus was a good Marine. He was a good drill instructor, and he spent his days at Parris Island yelling at recruits all day long. Ah! 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 And you'd hear recruits screaming, ah! And he would take recruits and he would make them do push-ups until their arms fell off. And he would make them run until their legs fell off. And there was just a recruit with a head and a body because he had no arms and legs anymore. And it was terrible. And there was another recruit, and he accidentally looked up at a plane when a plane was flying by. And so he had to learn how to fly. They took him up onto a rappelling tower, they tied some ropes to him, and they threw him off of the tower until he learned how to fly. So he would have to flap his arms and go, trying to be a plane. Because Drill Instructor Sergeant Bahonkus was a mean drill instructor. And no one ever saw Drill Instructor Sergeant Bahonkus ever cry. They saw him sweat. He would yell so loud, his face would go purple. Ah! Ah! And his face would go purple. And they would see sweat pop out on his face. Ah! And spit would come out of his mouth into the recruit's face. And the recruit wasn't allowed to move. And there's a hitting him in the face. And Drill Instructor Sergeant Bahonkus didn't care, but they never saw him cry. Until one day, a recruit came to Parris Island, and his name was Recruit Schmuckatelli. And Recruit Schmuckatelli was one ugly dude. He had a nose that was crooked. He had a giant perma-zit on it. And his mouth was always smiling, even when he wasn't smiling. And he had a little pencil neck. He had these long, gangly arms. He looked like a giraffe that had been, crammed into a human being. And so Drill Instructor Sergeant Bahonkus saw Recruit Schmuckatelli and said, You're gonna be my favorite. I'm gonna own you. And Recruit Schmuckatelli said, Aye, sir! Aye, sir! And so Drill Instructor Sergeant Bahonkus began following Recruit Schmuckatelli around. Recruit Schmuckatelli would go to chow, and he would get his tray of chow, and Drill Instructor Sergeant Bahonkus was right there next to him. You want that muffin, don't you? You gonna eat that muffin, you disgusting thing? Put that muffin in your face. And he made him take the muffin and made him eat it. And he did that to Recruit Schmuckatelli every hour of every day. There was one time Recruit Schmuckatelli was heard speaking out of turn, and Drill Instructor Sergeant Bahonkus made him take a potted plant and carry it around everywhere so that it could produce oxygen to cover all the oxygen that Recruit Schmuckatelli was sucking out of the world, because plants make oxygen. But one day, Recruit Schmuckatelli made Drill Instructor Sergeant Bahonkus shed a tear. You see, Recruit Schmuckatelli was from the South. And down there in the South, they hunt for their food. So Recruit Schmuckatelli was good with a firearm. So it came to range week. And Recruit Schmuckatelli goes out onto the range. And Drill Instructor Sergeant Bahonkus is hanging out over him. And he's like, "You're going to put that round in that target downrange, aren't you? You're going to kill that paper, aren't you? You're going to put it right into the black every single time, aren't you, Recruit Schmuckatelli?" And he would say, "Aye, sir." And Recruit Schmuckatelli shouldered his rifle. The target came up, and Recruit Schmuckatelli fired a shot. They ran the target down and ran it back up. Dead center. Then Drill Instructor Sergeant Bahonka said, "What? Do it again, girl." Target came back up. Recruit Schmuckatelli fired a round from his M16. They ran the target down, ran it back up. Another dead center hit. Drill Instructor Sergeant Bahonka said, "How are you doing that?" For 50 rounds, 50 shots at the 200-yard, the 300-yard, and the 500-yard mark, Recruit Schmuckatelli fired his weapon and put a round dead center on every target. And suddenly the whole range went silent. The guy in the tower was in the middle of saying, "Be ready to fire when your target appears." But he only got through what? Because everybody was looking at Drill Instructor Sergeant Bahonkus. As he stood there with his arms crossed, there was a great cracking sound. As a single tear came out of Drill Instructor Sergeant Bahonkus' eye and ran down his cheek on a face that had not felt tears since he was born. His tear glands cracked and let that one tear fall down his cheek as he looked at the perfect shooting record of Recruit Schmuckatelli. And that was the day that Drill Instructor Sergeant Bahonkus learned how to cry. And then he never cried again. It was the last day. The end.
That was another story with John Shurker Jr., a Marine Corps dad. Check the show notes for links to his Patreon and website at creativegrumbles.com.